You know, when you hear the word revolution, what comes to mind? Probably protests, right? Pitchforks and fire. But what if I told you that sometimes the most powerful revolution doesn't start with a shout at all? Nope, it starts with a number.
$0.00437. Just let that sink in for a second. That number, that's what an artist gets paid for a single stream on Spotify. It's not even a fraction of a penny, really. It's more like a digital crumb at the bottom of a very, very deep bag.
So what does that tiny little number actually mean in the real world for an artist trying to, pay their rent? Well, it means this. An artist has to get 10,000 streams on a platform like YouTube Music just to earn about $10. 10,000 plays for the price of maybe 2 coffees.
And this right here brings us to what you could call the streaming treadmill, because that's exactly what it feels like. The music industry as a whole is generating billions upon billions of dollars. But for the vast majority of artists, the people actually making the music, it's just a constant, exhausting race for those tiny fractions of a penny.
And the sheer scale of this treadmill is kind of mind-boggling. I mean, just in the US, you've got 100 million paid subscriptions. Streaming makes up a whopping 84% of all music revenue. It's a giant pie, right? But here's the catch. There are over 8 million artists releasing their own music. And that number is growing 3.5 times faster than the money is. So you just have more and more people fighting for smaller and smaller slices. So here's the most crucial thing to understand. The system isn't actually broken. This isn't some weird paradox that no one can figure out. No, it's a market that is working exactly as it was designed to. And that design, at this massive scale, is precisely the problem for independent creators who are just trying to make a living. So if the answer isn't to just tear down this whole massive structure, then what is it? Well, the real change comes when we look a little closer at the word revolution itself. It's about turning back to something really powerful that we've all sort of forgotten. Okay, check this out. The word revolution comes from the Latin revolvere, which means a turning back or a revolving. Its first use wasn't about politics, it was about astronomy. It described the planets and stars making their full orbit and returning right back to where they started. So it's not about destruction. The original meaning is about restoration, a return. And this whole idea of returning to a different model, it's not new at all. In fact, if you look back, you can see the ghosts of ownership all around us. There's so much proof that artists have always found ways to create their own paths. I mean, come on, just look at vinyl. A format that was supposed to be completely obsolete is now a $1.4 billion industry, and it's been growing for 18 straight years. And even downloads, yeah, they're a small slice, but they represent a really dedicated group of listeners who insist on owning the music they love. Ownership isn't dead, it's just been overshadowed. And this history gives us a perfect blueprint. Think about the early punk scene. Those bands pressed their own records and booked their own tours because they refused to wait around for permission. Or early hip-hop artists who built a cultural empire from the ground up using scavenged tools like turntables and samplers. They didn't try to beat the system, they just built their own thriving parallel economies right alongside it. All right, so we've got the philosophy down. Now let's circle back to the numbers. But this time, let's look at them not as a trap, but as a tool for empowerment. Let's look at what we could call the merciful math of independence. This is the comparison that just changes everything. To earn that same $10, you need 10,000 streams. That means reaching over 2,000 different listeners, which for an indie artist could mean 20 or 25 hours a week of promotion and hustle. Or you could just sell one $10 download directly to one superfan. The difference in labor is it's incredible. We're talking about weeks of work versus a few minutes. And look, this isn't just some wishful thinking from artists. The industry giants are seeing the exact same trend. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs, predicted that the next big wave of growth in music isn't going to come from casual listeners. It's going to come directly from these dedicated superfans, the very same people who are willing to buy music directly from artists. And if we zoom out and look at the whole world, the picture gets even bigger. Out of a $36 billion industry, that artist's direct slice is already worth $2 billion. $2 billion. Now, it might look like a small piece of the pie, but trust me, $2 billion is more than enough money to support a whole lot of serious artists who want to build a real career, one fan at a time. But it's not just about going back to selling old MP3s or vinyl. The real opportunity today is to use new tools to restore the direct line between an artist and their fan, a connection that was frankly lost even with older forms of ownership. Because here's the classic problem with a traditional sale, right? The moment someone buys that record or that download, the interaction is just over. The artist gets the money, which is great, but the fan vanishes. You have no data, no connection, no way to let them know about your next tour or your next album. So the solution is built on 3 pillars. Let's call them the 3 C's. First, communication, having a direct line to your fans with no algorithm getting in the way. Second, commerce, where that first sale isn't the end, but the beginning of a real relationship. And third, community, creating a space where fans can connect with the artist and with each other outside of the usual social media chaos. And when you build that direct line, the benefits are just so powerful. Fans stop being a number on a spreadsheet and become a person who is actually seen. Artists can stop just guessing what their audience wants and start observing them. And with every new release, the whole system gets stronger. The fan base, the revenue, and the community. So this all brings us to one final big thought. What if the real revolution, the actual future of music, isn't about chasing the next big platform or trying to outsmart the next algorithm? What if it's simply about what we decide to reclaim? The connection, the ownership, and that simple, merciful math that allows great art to thrive.